Hi everyone, Graham Couch here from the Lansing State Journal, along with my Detroit Free Press colleagues Chris Solari and Sean Windsor, after Michigan State's 69-62 loss here in the Champions Classic at Madison Square Garden to Kentucky. A game that it was a half a game, right? It was a really kind of weird first half. We had a foul fest. A lot of them I think were legitimate calls, but it made it a weird game. They're down 10, so you get one half of basketball to really judge Michigan State as they may look. I thought there were some things, I thought they were about what I thought they'd be. They're a team that's got a couple guys who are real dudes, and they got a lot of guys who are still trying to figure it out, and this is what that looks like on opening night in the Champions Classic, as it often does, and there's no reason to think they can't be everything people want them to be, but they're not there right now.
It's going to take a while. Tom Izzo sort of said as much. He kind of tried to downplay the look, we know he welcomed the expectation of the number one, right, just as a matter of pride. But he did kind of downplay it, both publicly and privately. He knew they were going to have nights like this. I think they're going to have a few more nights like this. They look like strangers, a little bit discombobulated. And Chris, I don't know about you, but it's not so easy to replace Kenny Goins and Matt McQuaid, dismiss them as role players. Their roles were awfully important, and those roles were missing tonight.
Yeah, and I think, defensively is where, in particular, and Langford and also McQuaid, I think were two big guys that, they can help mask some of the deficiencies Cassius Winston has laterally. You saw them exploited tonight. I thought Rocket Watts, he's not there yet in terms of defender. He's got a lot more to work on in his offensive game, but in terms of helping Winston and kind of covering up some of those things, you saw Winston get blown by a few times by Tyrese Maxey. And at times, I think Winston also on the offensive end was bothered by their length, bothered by their pressure. They hedged out really well on those ball screens, and I thought there was a lot of things though that this team. You mentioned it, Sean, about kind of feeling like strangers. There were lineups in there that were really odd because of the foul problems that Michigan State had. And that even in that second half, Graham, when you were talking about when it was almost like a half of a half, because when Kithier and Tillman both pick up their third fouls and then Winston picks up his fourth, now you don't even really have a full half of basketball from the starters.
No, and that's going to happen sometimes. These guys, I think, have to learn that. I mean, you see this in college basketball all the time. I forget how much I hate college basketball until the first game, and there's 26 fouls in the first half.
Because you can't have 6 fouls, right?
Well, it's partly because coaches aren't going to play guys with 2 fouls in the first half, so stars get taken out of the game, and later in the year it all settles down. But early on, it always looks like this, and it's just not a lot of fun. But that's part of it. And Xavier Tillman talked about the idea that they have to learn how to play with this. He has to learn where to be smarter, and because there are a couple guys that have to be on the floor for them. Yes. And one of them is Tillman. One of them is Aaron Henry. And Aaron Henry was not. He was out really quick. He's got to get smarter. He changes things athletically for them, and they need him to be even more than that this year. They need him to be a consistent dude, and he wasn't that.
No, you could see the flashes in the second half when Henry. Yeah. The thing that he does, I think that's sneaky good is get in the paint and make plays for others. He's their best second. He's their second best playmaker, right? Yeah. We can say that. Watts may develop into that role a bit later on. He handles the ball well. He's really quick.
Would you play Henry at the point instead of Watts when they go to that lineup at the late in games? Like, you know what I mean?
It's possible. I mean, he can bring the ball up. He's got some length to him, but
you're talking about because Watts did have a tough turnover. It was kind of but it was more of a feel and a miscommunication. It had several of those. They had a couple of almost handoffs where they just weren't quite. They're kind of looking at each other like, I thought you'd be there. No, I thought you'd be there. And it's just how
credit Kentucky's length for some of that too. I think they got into those lanes and kind of were troublesome.
Yeah, but I'm talking about some on the perimeter that were just sort of odd little turnovers. They were completely self-inflicted turnovers.
Well, you mentioned about not having Henry on the floor. I think he played 2 minutes and 39 seconds, but they need Winston on the floor. I mean, that's the biggest no-brainer statement I can make in this video. But you saw Foster Loyer being overmatched in this game. At this level of competition, I don't know what he can provide you. And Watts, in that point guard role late, there was some moments of panic. But I mean, I don't know how much he's really taking the ball in practice right now as the point guard, as the backup guy. So I mean, that's something to keep in mind as well. He'll get better at that as time goes along, but it'll take time.
What's interesting with that dynamic is right then, because they were down and you're in the second half in a game like this, you need the potential of a playmaker over a placeholder. Yeah. And so that's why you go with a guy like Watts over a guy like Foster Loyer there, and that's just the way it is. Right now, Foster Loyer is not a guy you're going to put on the game down 6.
I'll tell you this about Watts, and this is the thing about, and we know this is what he does with this program. His teams get better. you can see little moments. Watts in the second half, several possessions before the one you're talking about where we threw the ball, he came down, put the ball behind his back from right, maybe right to left, left to right, I can't remember. It was a speed dribble behind his back to create separation. 2 months from now, he's going to rise up and take that three right there. It was unbelievably quick.
He was struggling to figure out how to get his versus fit in. See, early in the game, he takes a pretty quick three, a pull-up three, and he sort of stopped shooting. And I think he's one of those guys, they don't have a lot of guys like him who can just create whenever. And so when do you shoot? It's sort of like, well, I can shoot on any possession and get a decent look. So how many of these possessions do I take? You know, and at some point they need him to be more aggressive, and they're going to have to live with some bad shots.
And Sean and I talked about this during the game. They need that secondary shooter. This is one of those times where not having McQuaid out there, not having Langford out there, they don't have any secondary shooting. So teams are going to push out on Winston, force everything high. Don't let him take the three until someone else can prove that they can do it consistently. And they just don't have it.
Help.
Gabe Brown also needs to have better shot taking ability too.
I mean, they're going to have to live with it.
I think what's frustrating for Izzo is now they've lost 4 straight of these Champions Classic games, and yet the dynamic is, first of all, you're always playing against these blue blood programs that usually have a little more just top end talent,
like Maxey.
And at the end of the year, when you're a well-oiled machine, you can beat these guys. But you're not a well-oiled machine very rarely in year one, unless you've got a guy like a Denzel Valentine with a senior group, or that Keith Appling, Gary Harris senior group. There are years here and there where they've had it, and they don't have it. This group isn't like that. And I think we knew that coming in, especially when Shaka
losing Langford
was hurt. And we talked about, this was the game where I don't think they'll miss Langford in March anywhere near as much as
they did tonight.
His size and length.
Especially early on, right?
Experience.
He can go get a bucket. And he can defend, too.
So I wouldn't give up on this season. But
Game 1.
I would say it's back to football season, right? Okay. We'll have coverage of that game later on. We'll have coverage at freep.com, at lsa.com, greenandwhite.com. Thanks for watching.